They built life from dead chemicals. Could they build you? This cell was never alive. It has no mother, no ancestor. Scientists built it in a lab, from chemicals that were not alive. Then it began doing strange things. It grew and divided. And when researchers set a rival version beside it, it fought for food and won. So what are we watching? A machine made from biology. A chemical system imitating life. Or the first step across a border humanity has never crossed. A thing we design from chemicals, rather than inherit, could one day outlast the people who made it, and quietly change what the word alive is even allowed to mean. In the next few minutes, what life actually is, and the question that changes everything. If we can build a cell instead of inheriting one, what else could we build? A tissue, an organ, or a person? And in the AI era, the race to crack that recipe is only accelerating. Let's find out. Chapter 1. The oldest rule of life. Start with the oldest rule of life. Every living thing comes from another. An unbroken chain, billions of years long. Follow it back, and the chain vanishes, where chemistry first became biology. But one bridge is still missing. From molecules to something alive. A cell isn't a bag of ingredients. It's a performance that never stops. Parts organized, energy managed, damage repaired all at once. So what counts as alive? Science can't name one single thing. A flame grows, but it's not alive. A crystal copies, but never evolves. A virus evolves, but can't live alone. One scientist sees life. Another sees a chemical reactor. Life isn't one switch. It's a cluster of tricks all at once. And beneath them, all runs one deeper rule. Darwin's rule. Life competes and the winners pass on their traits. Remember that. It returns in a way no one saw coming. So how few tricks do you really need? To find out, scientists took life apart.
Chapter 2. Taking life apart. In 2010, they stripped a living cell down and swapped in a lab-built genome. It worked, the cell reproduced. But the software was built. The hardware was already alive. 6 years later, they cut deeper, down to just 473 genes. They called it JCV ISIN 3.0, but 149 of them are essential and still a mystery. Taking a clock apart isn't the same as building one. To truly build life, you start from dead chemicals, and that's what Spud Cell is. Built at the University of Minnesota by Kate Adamala and Aaron Engelhardt. A nod to Sputnik, the first of its kind. Its first problem wasn't copying DNA. It was getting the thing to eat. But how do you make dead chemistry hungry?
Chapter 3. Building the body. Every body needs a skin. Drop the right fatty molecules in water, and they wrap into a membrane. Inside go the instructions. 90,000 letters of DNA across 7 plasmids. A human has 3 billion. This is life stripped to almost nothing. Read by 36 borrowed enzymes and ribosomes. But instructions alone do nothing. It had to feed. So its DNA builds a grabber. It grabs a food bubble and pulls it in. The meal becomes the diner. Real cells run vast chemical networks. Spud Cell skips most of them. Better genes mean more food, which means more offspring. The spark of competition, in something never born. But hunger was the easy part. Next came the impossible.
Chapter 4. The impossible split. Splitting a cell is one of biology's hardest tricks. First, DNA copying enzymes duplicate its genome. Real cells use a whole internal machine to divide. Spud Cell has no such machine. It overcrowds its own skin with proteins, until it strains, pinches, and tears in two. And it must pinch without ever spilling its insides. Crude, but it works. A fine mesh coaxes it apart over 5 generations. Not all daughters survive, and that flaw matters later.
Chapter 5. When chemistry meets Darwin. Remember Darwin's rule from the very beginning. Life competes, the winners pass on their traits. For nearly 4 billion years, it belonged only to the living. So the scientists asked a daring question. Could dead chemistry obey it too? So they built one variant that fed a little better, then set it loose against the original. 5 generations later, it had taken over, starved the dish, and its advantage only grew. The scientists seeded that variant, but survival did the rest. That is natural selection, Darwin's law, running inside chemistry that was never alive. For the first time, evolution in something built from scratch. So count what it can do. It feeds, it grows, it copies DNA, it divides, it evolves. By every rule you were taught, that is life. And yet, the scientists who made it still won't call it alive. Which leaves the strangest question of all. Why not?
Chapter 6. The Life Support System. Because it only works inside a lab that never stops helping. Its protein factories, borrowed from bacteria. Ribosomes are among the most complex machines in all of biology. When they wear out, it stops, 10 generations at most. Its food hand-delivered, cut the supply, it dies. And its genes are split across 7 pieces. Most daughters inherit a broken set. Only a third get it all. That's why Adamala still won't call it alive. On its own, about as alive as a brain-dead patient. They separated the functions that living things bundle together. So created life goes too far. It's a prototype on life support. But that's not a failure, it's the breakthrough. An aeroplane isn't a failed bird, it's another way to fly. So if it isn't quite alive, why build one at all?
Chapter 7. Why build a cell? A cell you build is a cell you can program. We already use cells as factories. Yeast brews medicine. Bacteria make chemicals. Immune cells, reprogrammed to hunt cancer. But they carry billions of years of baggage. A built cell has none. Give it one job. Make a drug, capture carbon, grow a material. Biology does precise chemistry. In water, at body temperature. The seed of a whole new bioeconomy. And a deeper prize. Build life and you finally understand it. A theory that has survived construction. But a power this big never arrives without a cost.
Chapter 8. The Power and the Risk. Every new power arrives before the rules do. And these questions turn urgent only after the tech already works. Who owns the blueprint for programmable life? Open spreads access and capability. Locked creates other risks. Adamala's team chose to give theirs away. Founding Biotic, an open public lab. But who benefits and who answers when it goes wrong? For now, Spud Cell is too fragile to survive outside. Its weakness is our safety net, but that won't last. The real danger is an escape. It's a field born before the rules. And the boldest question of all was still waiting.
Could they build a human? If you can build one cell, could you build many? There's already a project for it. Genome Project Right, aiming to write whole genomes, even a human one. In labs today, synthetic embryos grow for days. No egg, no sperm. But a cell and a human are oceans apart. You are 37 trillion cells, in hundreds of types. Grow a tissue in a dish, and it starves without a blood supply. Much of your own code, we still can't read. So every step asks a harder question. Not can we, but should we, and who decides? One cell took decades. A human, once we'd have said centuries. But the recipe is cracked, and the AI era changes the clock. AI now designs proteins nature never made. Self-driving labs test 1,000 recipes a day. Virtual cells simulate life before a test tube is touched. What took decades could take years. And that speed is exactly why AI is being fenced off from biology. The same tools that could build life could design a plague. So this is a research plan now, not science fiction. The question is no longer if, it's how soon and who decides.
The border moved. Look again at where we began. It was never born, it can't think, it can't survive alone. And yet, every move it makes is ordinary matter. As Adamala puts it, life's functions need no mysterious, magical spark. Spud Cell hasn't crossed the line between living and dead. It's shown there may be no line at all, only a landscape. And we've just stepped into it. So one last question, not whether this is alive, but what happens when the next one is too close to tell?
If this fascinated you, there is so much more where it came from. Subscribe to Gods, Ghosts, and Galaxies. Hit like if you enjoyed the journey. And tell me in the comments what amazed you most, and which mystery I should explore next. Thank you for watching.